Good morning from day 3 of the Uts 100-mile course, Recce. I'm here in the centre of Capel Curig, just outside Joe Brown's shop, waiting for a lift. Today is a massive day, but it's a point-to-point route starting at Penny Pass and ending here in Capel Curig. Now it's only 6:15, which means there are no buses, and there won't be one coming through here for another 3 hours. So that leaves me with two options. Either cover the next 5 miles on foot, or try and get a lift from a stranger. I'm hoping the second option will work out for me. We'll see how I get on. Like I said, today is a massive day. I'm going to be covering most of the peaks around the Ogwen Valley, and without trying to name them all, we might as well just go straight into the flyover video.
This section starts off with a sharp ascent from Penny Pass towards the top of Glyder before an equally sharp descent via Devil's Kitchen. The route takes you almost to the top of the Ogwen Valley before doing a U-turn and heading towards Trifan. Summiting this technical mountain is not required in the race, and instead the single track route goes towards Finn Ogwen, where the Glendana aid station is located. Next on the list are the Carnefai Mountains, another steep ascent to begin with, but once you're on top of Penir Olwen, there's plenty of runnable terrain before descending below the summit of Penir Helgidu. The last hour or two of the section are flat and grassy and take you past Finn Colid before reaching Capel Curig. This is one of the biggest sections of the race, with 40 kilometers and 2,600 meters of ascent.
Made it to Penny Pass in one piece. A few people rejected me, but then a couple of guys, I think trail runners, stopped and they chucked me in the back of a work van. So that was pretty fun. Sat in the pitch black for 10 minutes, driving up the winding roads up to Penny Pass. But now I'm here. The sun has risen and I'll be heading up there in that direction.
The descent from Glyder is predominantly scree and can be a fast way down if you're used to this type of terrain. This is then followed by a few short runnable sections which you've got to take advantage of before reaching Devil's Kitchen. The trail then slowly begins to even out as you come towards Finn Cai.
So 2 hours has passed and I've just made my way down from Glyder, down Devil's Kitchen, around the lake, and now I'm here. So since 2 hours has passed, it's time to change my flasks. I've been carrying 2 flasks with me, one with tailwind, one with water. I've got 2 more in the back. In terms of hydration, it's quite hard to keep track of it in these mountains. Yes, there are a few streams, but there are also a lot of sheep around, so I'm not sure how safe they are. So yeah, it's best to carry 2 litres at a time, and I think that's what the race requires anyway. So yeah, in terms of refilling flasks, I'll put these ones in, which should last me about 2 hours. So that will last me the ascent up Trifan, and then the descent. There is a campsite down there where you may be able to refill your bottles as well for the last 4 or 5 hours.
you're recce in this route and want to reach Tryfan summit, then make sure not to cross the stile and instead scramble from the southwest direction. Alternatively, cross the stile and follow the UTS route over Heather Terrace, making sure to turn left after around 100 metres of descending the steep scree. The path is very thin and quite technical in places, so I recommend not to rush this section.
Just got to the 5 hour mark and I've reached Glyder, what will be one of the checkpoints at the race. Now, I went through the campsite, which was closed. I presume it's still in off season, so I couldn't use the toilets there or get any water. And yeah, there's no access to the rivers here, but I've just looked at the map, and if you happen to run out of water like I've just done, the route does follow some streams that go down the mountain, so yeah, gonna have to rely on that, otherwise I'll be a bit screwed. Bingo. 8 hours in and I've done all my major climbs for today. So yeah, it's going a bit slower than expected, but yeah, I've just been enjoying the day and taking care. Some of those sections have been really technical, but yeah, it's just all time on feet, isn't it? And you might as well take your time when you've got views like this.
The route then takes you onto gentle single track alongside Finn Cowlid for roughly 2 miles. During the race there'll be a basic water station provided at the end of this section, and I've also heard that the streams that feed this reservoir are safe to drink from. The last 5 or so miles towards Capel Curig firstly take you over more heather ridge trails before entering the forest, and then finally a nice mix of gravel and stone paths. For my second weekend in Snowdonia, I stayed at the Bryn Turge Farm campsite. However, this time, instead of a tent, I chose the bunkhouse option, and since it was a quiet weekend, I ended up staying in the biggest one. Now, this wasn't the most glamorous accommodation I've stayed in, but at £18 a night you can't really complain, and it provided me everything I needed in order to recover for the Sunday. The next section starts in Capel before a gradual ascent up Moyle Shabod. This is followed by a steep downhill scramble and a few flat kilometres before reaching the village of Dolwyfellan. Then a gentle ascent takes you over the flat summit of Irolwen before finally ending this section with a run through a slate mine outside the town of Blenheim Festinoig. In total, a day of 24 kilometres and 1,300 metres of ascent.
Good morning from Capel again. It's 6:30 in the morning and the sun is slowly rising. So it's time for UTS Recce number 4. Now the plan for today is pretty simple. 25 kilometres over Moyle Shabod all the way to Blenheim Festinoig. I need to make it there by 11:30 so that I can catch the train to Betsy Coed and then the bus to Capel again. So under a little bit of pressure today. Legs are feeling okay, quite achy in the night, and so I didn't have the best of sleeps, but I've got a fresh pair of shoes on, had a decent breakfast, and yeah, as long as there's not too many scrambles today, I think I won't have a problem getting my train. Now, the 100-mile race doesn't start till 1 PM, so this section here we'll be covering at night, unless you're super speedy. But it's still quite helpful to do a recce to get a feel for the terrain, the kinds of elevation changes, things to look out for, so that it's easier to navigate and pace yourself during the night. For those of you that are doing 100k, I imagine you'll be getting to this bit sometime in the afternoon, so this video is probably a bit more helpful for you.
In order to safely start the downhill scramble, make sure to turn back on yourself towards Capel, run about 20 to 30 metres and turn right. The next 2 miles take you over some potentially boggy terrain before joining the forest road for another 2 miles. This has a gentle downhill gradient and is a great opportunity to get some speed back without sacrificing the quads. You eventually end up in Dolwyfellan, which will be a key aid station in the race. The ascent out of Dolwyfellan is also gradual and uneven terrain and can therefore be covered fairly quickly.
So that's UTS Recce run number 4 done. Yeah, really enjoyable. It took 4 hours 15, so I've still got about 40 minutes to my train. So yeah, pretty happy with that. Tons of runnable terrain, which was nice. Really managed to take advantage of that. Of course, it'll be a different story when it's dark, but we'll see how we get on. A little bit of power hiking and a little bit of scrambling, so a bit of everything. Luckily the bogs today weren't too bad because it has been dry for the past week or so. So again, we'll have to see what the situation is like in May. But yeah, the weekend's done now. I'm happy with both of my runs, and now it's time for a rest day tomorrow.